there is a lot of configurations options, there are a lot of settings that you can set, and there are a lot of things that can happen. And this Active Directory authentication provider provides a lot of services and essentially allows your users to do a lot of things through the authentication services of Active Directory. Now, in order to be able to keep and handle on all of these things that are going on, we have a number of reporting functionalities and features that are available to us through the Azure AD portal. And I want to take a few minutes and look at those functionalities and see the different ways that you can access the relevant information that can help you either in troubleshooting or just being able to identify secure issues, or just being able to identify security issues or identify what is going on with your directory. If I click on the overview blade, I can see the enterprise application, small reporting functionality, and it gives me some information about the applications that have been signed into, that are part of my enterprise. This is just a simple report, and it's really there to giving your glimpse into the application. But anybody who is going to want to look a little bit more in depth as to what is going on within their Azure AD, we want to go into the audit logs. So if I go down my list of available tasks, I go into audit logs, I actually can see the auditing is turned on by default, and this is very important. Auditing is not something that we need to turn on in Azure AD. It's already there, and I see that my auditing has been enabled and it's set for my organization. Now, this is great because as soon as you deploy a directory, the directory has logging enabled and you can retrieve information through these logs. So when I look at an audit log, I see that information as to when it happened, what was the targets, or what was the activity that was modified, who was it modified by. So was it an internal process such as here? I see it's Microsoft Azure AD internal process. And what happened? Well, it modified external secrets, which is another term for authentication passwords. This was for my single sign process that happened in previous video in the course, and I can click on any one of these auditing records to look at the details of the records. So a little bit more information of the activity. I have all of the details in terms of the goods that were generated, the users that generated these activities, and all of those are detailed the same way that I would in audit log that was set of premises. So if you have used Windows servers or Microsoft authentication services of Active Directory, on premises you have audit logs, and you can retrieve information as to what goes on as part of your organization. And this is the same thing that I can do here in my Azure AD. Now, through this tool here, I can actually filter what I'm looking at, because it can be a little bit overwhelming to see all of this information. And you notice that this information here, it's just being generated by about 10 minutes. And there are no users in my organization. So as soon as you start to add a lot of users, you may want to filter what information you are looking at. So you have categories in terms of the target that being managed. We also have types of activity resources types, that actual activity that's going to be performed. And you see here that I have a long list that can be filtered against. As well, you can filter for specific users and date range. If you wanted just a free-flowing search term, right here you can just start typing what is that you're looking for, and it will just filter it based on the keyword search. Many administrators may want to just use a simple word search or filter specifically based on the resource types. As well, if you want to analyze this or import the data into separate reviewing tool, you can download all of your audit logs for safekeeping and analyze them offline. As well, I can go into sign-ins. Now, sign-ins is another version of auditing where essentially it logs all of the sign-in. And this can be also very useful in order to validate when user has signed in and validate this access. This is a subset of the auditing logs in the sense that we can filter the information here more cleanly specifically for sign-ins. And Microsoft is going to make these types of sub-portals available based on demand and based on if customers are demanding them to be available. They may have some additional of those subportals for accessing the auditing data. As well, I have some here that are not available by default. And if I click here on risky sign-ins, it will prompt me to download all additional services through the Azure Marketplace. So the Azure AD Identify Protection is the additional service that I would need to download and add it to my subscription. So that I can see things like risky sign-ins and the user flagged for risks. So some additional functionalities, sometimes that are enabled through add-on tools that we need to download. So reporting is one of those things that is very useful in terms of managing all of the information within your Azure AD subscription. One thing to keep in mind is that some of the reporting that you may want to use may not be available to you if you don't have Azure AD Premium plans. So the Premium Plan 1 or Plan 2 enables some of these reporting functionalities.